All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into a profoundly poetic explainer based on Xu Feng's text. And honestly, this is going to fundamentally shift how you perceive literally every single thing around you. You know, we walk through our lives so accustomed to what we call silence. We sit in an empty room or maybe look out over a quiet landscape, and we just assume the world is, well, quiet. But what if our definition of sound is entirely limited by the incredibly narrow band of frequencies our physical ears can actually pick up? Today, we're exploring a physical and philosophical framework that suggests everything, and I mean absolutely everything, is singing. To kick things off, I've got a counterintuitive question for you, one that really challenges our everyday understanding of silence. I want you to picture a massive, towering mountain on a perfectly windless day. Does it make a sound? Okay, now picture a single candle burning in a dead quiet room. Is that faint little glow making a noise? Your immediate instinct is probably to say, no way, of course not. But stick with me, because by the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly why the answer to both of those questions is a resounding yes. So let's look at the genesis of sound and the fundamental formula of the universe. To answer those questions we just asked, we first have to understand the core premise this text uses to completely redefine acoustics. The crucial point here is the simple but absolute four-step formula laid out by Xu Feng. It goes like this. As long as there is movement, it cascades into vibrations, waves, and inevitably, sound. This is the absolute bedrock of everything we're discussing today. Think of it as a chain reaction of physics. If something moves, it vibrates. If it vibrates, it pushes energy outward as waves. And if there are waves, sound is generated. In the framework we are exploring today, there are zero exceptions to this rule. Moving on to nature's obvious symphony, let's look at the sounds of the active world. Starting with the things we already easily accept, what's really interesting is how perfectly this aligns with our daily reality. We naturally recognize that moving machines, like a roaring car engine or crashing sea waves or animals moving across the earth, all possess the kinetic energy needed to generate sound. When a bird flaps its wings, or a dog runs across the grass, or water just rushes down a stream, we hear the result of that movement. Our ears are perfectly tuned by evolution to pick up these specific, active waves. But here is where it gets really fascinating. Let's apply this formula to gentler motions. The text points out that even things we consider totally silent are actually participating in this active acoustic symphony. Plants growing upward toward the sun, they have sound. White clouds drifting across the blue sky, they have sound. Butterflies gracefully dancing among flowers have sound. Let's go back to that formula for a second. A butterfly's wing moving is, by definition, movement. That movement creates a tiny vibration in the air. That vibration creates a wave. Therefore, the butterfly makes a sound. It's just a sound that exists completely outside the incredibly narrow limitations of human hearing. Now let's explore the illusions of stillness and uncover some hidden kinetic energy. Moving to a concept that really challenges our perception, let's look at the massive objects we mistakenly believe to be completely still. This brilliantly illustrates the rule of contrast. Whether it's a violently crashing wave or a quiet towering mountain, the underlying physics of motion are exactly the same. The ocean wave gives us visible motion, right? The mountain gives us invisible motion. But remember our formula. Motion is motion, and motion generates sound. The text explains that the earth, mountains, and massive rocks all have sound because they're literally hurtling through space. The earth is rotating on its axis, and it's revolving at an unbelievable speed around the sun. That is massive planetary scale movement. But even if we zoom all the way in to a microscopic level, the internal molecules making up that seemingly still rock are vibrating continuously. Because the molecules are in motion, the rock is vibrating. Because the rock is vibrating, it's producing waves, and therefore the mountain actually has a sound. Next up, invisible frequencies, the unseen symphony of light and signals. We can expand our definition even further here by stepping away from physical objects entirely and looking at invisible frequencies. Because any frequency of oscillation produces sound, the invisible signals beaming continuously to your mobile phones and TVs are actively sounding around you. Think about it. You're sitting in a room right now that is highly likely flooded with Wi-Fi signals, radio waves, and cellular data from communication towers. All of these are frequencies. All of these are waves. And if there's a wave, there's a sound. The modern world is quite literally a deafening roar of invisible symphonies that we just happen to lack the biological hardware to hear. Let's see how this builds into something even more incredible. Here is where the text gets truly mind-blowing. Because light is fundamentally a wave, all light has a sound. We usually think of light and sound as two entirely separate phenomena, right? But in this unified view of the universe, they are practically siblings. Light travels as radiant waves. And what do waves do? Exactly, they generate sound. This means the massive radiant waves of the sun, just blasting across millions of miles of space, and the tiny, faint glow emitted by a single lit candle on your dining room table are both vibrating and singing into the universe. Every beam of sunlight hitting your face is carrying a sound with it. Every time you strike a match or flick on a light switch, you are quite literally adding an acoustic note to the room. So let's look at the sounds within us, spanning the microscopic and the mental. Let's bring this beautiful philosophy inward to see how it applies to the hidden biology of the natural world and directly to you. Hidden fluids are constantly vibrating, from deep underground springs bubbling up through the soil to the slow, ancient flow of nutrients moving upward inside century-old tree branches. I just love this image. Picture a massive, silent oak tree that has stood for 100 years. Inside its thick trunk, nutrients are being pulled upward against gravity. That is movement. And that movement generates a deep, slow, ancient acoustic wave. Now, inside your own body right now, your flowing blood and moving intestines and, as the text slightly uncomfortably points out, even the mosquitoes sucking that blood are a continuous, vibrating biological symphony. You are quite literally a walking orchestra of motion. Every pump of your heart pushes blood through your veins, creating a wave. The very digestion of your food is a rhythmic movement. And then Xu Feng gives us this absolute mind bender. Our very thoughts, brainwaves, and mental activities are energetic waves producing their own unique sound. Think about it. We measure brainwaves with medical equipment all the time. We see the peaks and valleys on a monitor. Those are waves. So when you're thinking hard about a problem, or remembering a loved one, or simply daydreaming, your consciousness is actively emitting a frequency. Your thoughts have a sound. Let's take a look at the big picture, the cosmic symphony and the ultimate resonance. Zooming all the way out to look at the universe as a whole, by embracing this cosmic perspective, we realize that literally every form of matter and energy, both positive and negative, is participating in this vibration. Everything we can observe and everything we can't observe is locked in a state of motion. The expanding galaxies, the colliding stars, the positive objects, the negative objects, the entire universe is just one singular, massive, vibrating entity. Peeling back the final layer, we discover the mind-expanding assertion that even seemingly completely void empty space has its own resonance. We so often think of space as a silent vacuum, but in this philosophical framework, the void itself, the space between the stars, contains a frequency. The very fabric of existence is vibrating. This expanding progression ultimately reaches the absolute source, with the text declaring that the greatest creator of all these things also has sound. If the universe and everything within it is an expression of movement and vibration, then the ultimate source that initiated that movement, whether you view that philosophically, religiously, or scientifically, must also be a source of frequency and sound. It is the original note from which all other notes descend. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought, to carry with you the next time you sit in what you believe to be perfect silence. Look around the room. The light bulb is humming with light waves. Your Wi-Fi router is blasting signals. The wood in your desk is vibrating at a molecular level. Your own brain is humming with the thoughts you're thinking right now. If every thought, lit candle, and pocket of empty space vibrates, what is the true sound of the universe? And more importantly, what note are you adding to it today?